Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I think we are more or less all people that have registered are here, and I think we should not wait too long for starting also because we have quite a tight program and a lot to show of the project that we are going to talk now. My name is Dietmar Siegele. I'm from Fraunhofer, Italia. We are a little research center situated in the north of Italy. Fraunhofer itself is a little bit more big that is situated in Germany, but we are in Italy and are a daughter company, let's say, from the big Fraunhofer Gesellschaft. I'm also a work package leader in this CHEK project. So I'm the leader of the work package 1, and I'm happy to introduce you to the project now. And I welcome all of you that you have registered yourself from municipalities through to designers, through, yeah, very interesting parties that we can welcome here today. So what is CHEK? CHEK is digital building permit. Seems simple, and question is that, let's say, also we asked ourselves why. I'm just sitting in front of my new flat. We just bought that 3 weeks ago, and we thought about doing some changes in our flat. And yeah, what is happening if you have to do some changes? You will have to see what you have to do. Why do you need, or which kind of permit do you have to do, and things like that. And I just, let's say, experience it on my own, how difficult it can be and how nasty some things in this process can be. So we decided just to put out a small wall, which was not a bearing wall, so nothing very dramatic. And I'm originally from Austria and I'm in Italy. And in Austria, I know it, for example, that in some parts of the country, you need nothing. So you need not even to say anything if you want to tear down a wall, which is not bearing. In some other parts, you need already to write for a short form, but you need not to present any kind of plans, or you need not to consider the urban planning. Here instead in Italy, you need also, let's say, not a full permit, building permit for something like this, but you need already to have a plan, you need to have a form, you need to have to look in which area you are, what is the urban area, are there any hazards, are there any dangers that you have to consider. And the most nasty thing on that is that in the whole process, which is, let's say, which is say not anymore analog, it's not a form that you fill out, it's already digital. So you can go to a website, you log in with your national identity, everything fine. But all the forms that you have to fill out, you have to fill out manually. So this means you go to a platform, to the first platform, the first cheese platform, you look up where you are, you look up what is your number of the where your flat is exactly situated. There are 5 different kind of numbers, depending also where you are in Italy. 2 numbers are necessary, 2 other numbers are not necessary. Then you go to the next platform. There you can see if there are any kind of hazards. Then you go to the next platform. You see if there are any kind of urban uh, restrictions that you have to consider, and so on and so on. And the issue is you have to type this always on your own. There even not had been a checkbox or something where you could just check it's, I don't know, no hazard or high hazard, or you have to consider that there is a high water risk or something like that. So you had to type everything on your own manually. So it was in the end like taking an analog form that you could write down, and you can also put it in a scanner, and you could also send it to the municipality. It was in the end the same. There was even a statistical form that you have to fill out manually. So you print it out, you fill it out manually, and then afterwards you are going to upload it as PDF, then you sign it digitally, and then you can send it. So that's a little bit nasty. At the moment, I don't see the presentation, Oriola. Maybe we can go back to presentation mode. Perfect. So that's one thing, or that's the thing, let's say, that we would like to change in CHEK. And that's also the thing that you are going to hear in the next approximately 2 hours, also followed with a lot of discussions, also introducing you to the community of practice. So how can you participate if you are a municipality, if you are somebody that is, let's say, having these issues, and also, of course, if you are a designer, if you're interested into following our process. Project so far is running since 1 year. We have another 2 years to go. So for the first part of this presentation that you see today, or the presentations you see today, main target is on how to develop a digital building permit process. So coming from the analog one to a digital one, how this workflow could look like. and then also mainly the parts about how the digitalization of the law, of the legislative could look like. This here is our, let's say, that you see here, the picture is was our initial idea. What are the current issues in this process? That we have a schematic document-based process, like I explained it now, that we have not reached interoperability, so we cannot just interact with another platform. We have to move to another platform and enter data again manually. We have a lack of digital linked inclusive skills. We have a lot of fragmentation of misalignment of technology, and we have also diversity, not only municipalities, but also in countries, inside countries, and of course, between the countries in Europe. That's even, let's say, more and another issue. That such a harmonization is also very, very difficult. And what are the objectives of CHEK to tackle this and to solve in the end also these issues are to demonstrate a novel digital permitting process. That will be the following up presentation from my colleague Oriola and Mariana. That will also lead you through the whole afternoon because I unfortunately have to leave. How BIM GIS data and services interoperability could work so that we can exactly exchange this data that I just explained you. How we can upskill this whole sector and these actors in this sector so that they can work with these digital tools and that they have the according skills. How we can improve, align, and integrate technology that can fit all of these needs of a real ideal digital building permit, and to demonstrate, of course, also the scalability of the solutions. We have inside the project 4 municipalities, but of course it should be scalable to whole Europe. And this brings me to the next slide, which is the agenda, where, let's say, my colleagues then will lead you a little bit through. So in the beginning, the TU Delft, which is the lead of the project, will explain you a little bit about the CHEK scalability and the community of practice and how you can be involved. Then colleagues of Minot will explain you the CHEK glossary, because first thing we detected is that it's not so simple to talk about these things. So we do not have a common language, which of course is a burden not only for us, but for everybody in this sector. Then we will have an interactive action about the digital building permit knowledge and understanding, led by the TU Delft. Then my colleagues will present the to-be process map, so the digital to-be process map for the digital building permit. Then we will have a presentation by our software companies that are inside this consortium, that will show you how, let's say, different software can interact with each other, how we can enable interoperability. In this case, shown by REST APIs that SIPE has implemented on their platforms. Then we will have a short break, and after the short break, the University of Brescia will show you what are the forecomes on the digital building permit regulations and information requirements, where are the burdens, where we can solve things, where maybe we will also have still issues, and where maybe we'll also need your inputs. And that's also then the next point, so that we have an interactive session to establish priorities and to compare building permit regulations all over the world, or Europe at least, not the world. Then together with the OCC, which will present then the maturity model, so where municipalities can see how far they are in their process of coming from an analog process to a digital process. So this is one of the outcomes of the first half of the project, that we would like to create an assistant that allows you to understand where you are, what you still need, and what is the path that you have to go, and what are the necessary steps and how long they could maybe take. So that is very important for us. And then in the end, we will have some final discussion. All over the project, all over the event, I have to say, sorry, we will give you the possibility to ask questions and answers. So already here, I think what I presented so far, there are not so many questions, so I will lead directly then to the next point, because I think all the open questions, I hope they are going to be answered in the next 2 hours. But if you have questions all the time, you can find on the top of the Teams, you find a Q&A session or a register card. You just click there, and then you can just write in a standard chat the standard chat we have disabled, but you can create here a post, and we will either write you digitally back, so somebody will write you directly, or we will then answer the questions in the end of the sessions or within the interactive sessions. So then have a good afternoon, and we hope that we can present you a lot of news and new ideas and new concepts. And yeah, I give further to my colleagues, Ariola and Marianne. Thank you.
Thank you, Dietmar. Now we can go on with the next, the first presentation of our project, and I want to invite University of Delft to present the CHEK scalability and the community of practice.
Thank you. Will you use the slides that I uploaded, or is that possible? I don't hear you, sorry.
Sorry, yeah. Do you prefer to share the screen with, or I can share for you the presentation?
Yes, you can do it. And I saw that I can click in new Teams environment, I can click myself through the slides.
Okay.
So great to see you all here in this open event in which we present the CHEK project. As was said, the Delft University of Technology coordinates this CHEK project together with Francesca Noardo from OGC. And yeah, you will learn about the project in all the presentations. And I have a few slides just to explain the community of practice. And I'm waiting for the slides, but I don't know if I can. Are you trying to share them, Oriola?
Yeah, sorry.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay. Now.
Okay, I think you see them, right? So yeah, so the community of practice is yeah, we established this to make sure that the resources that we're going to develop are also applicable to other jurisdictions and municipalities. So in the CHEK project, we have 4 municipalities from 3 countries. And of course, the resources that we are going to develop should not only be usable for those 4 use cases, but we'd like to make it also usable for other municipalities. But also, we think that if we involve more stakeholders, so also more designers from different countries, software developers that are active in this domain, that we can assure that the developed solutions will also align to this and support practice of others. So if you will participate in the community of practice, of course, the question is what is required from you. So you will be asked to reflect on our intermediate results via 2 meetings per year. For example, the code-checking solutions that we're developing. But also you will be asked to help in the selection of the regulations that are going to be the focus in our project. So there are many checks that can be done, and also here we would like the selection of checks to be representative for other countries and for the majority of the municipalities. So it's very useful if others also help us in the selection of regulations that we will focus on in the project. And also we require your input to help defining the data requirements for both the IFC models to be submitted for the building permit process, but also for the geo environment that will be used to check the new design against its environmental context. So these will both be part of the CHEK project. The definition of the data requirements for both, so for the BIM model and for the geographical context. And here we also require, or we need more input from other from others and from other stakeholders to make sure that it's more useful for others. If you can go to the next slide. So if you would decide to join the community of practice, you also will gain from this. So, for example, you will have access to the intermediate results that we produce, and you can test them within your own organization. And also you will be able to guide the developments in our project with your feedbacks and suggestions, so that the final solutions will be suitable for you to reuse in your own development. So to make sure that the solutions that we will develop are also useful for you. Yeah, if you participate in a community of practice, you will also help us to achieve the highest level of scalability. So that's not only useful for a few municipalities or a few countries, but that these CHEK solutions are useful for Europe and are also more general than just for the use cases that we focus on. And yeah, if you would like to get some visibility, that also your name and your institution can be on the website and in the publications that we will produce. So I think the next one is the final slide. Oh yeah, so the current community of practice members come from those countries, and you see them listed here. So if you would like to join as a municipality or as a software developer or as an architect, please contact us. So if you go to the last slide, then you see the mail addresses of Francesca and myself, so you can mail us. But also on our website, we have a possibility to submit a form to join the community of practice. So we really would like to invite you to join our project, or if you would like to first that we answer your questions that you may have around this community of practice, please contact us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antin. Now we have a presentation on the CHEK glossary from University of Minho. So University of Minho, Miguel,
Yes.
or
Yes,
okay.
it will be presenting. Thank you. And
Want to present, or do you want me to share the screen?
I think we will present because there's an interactive moment afterwards. So we are
Okay.
using our own sharing. So it's actually Bruno, who is next to me, is hosting the presentation, and I will be just speaking. So
Okay.
it is my pleasure to, as leader of the work package 5 at the University of Minho, and speaking on behalf of the team who is actually next to me in the room, but we are just using different computers with José Granja and Bruno Muniz. And we are very happy to disclose a little bit of what's been happening in regard to the developments of Work Package 5, in particularly about the CHEK glossary, but we are actually going to speak about more than that. So let me see if I can, yes, oh no, I can't, sorry. Can you advance one slide, please? Yeah. So on the CHEK glossary, we have been commissioned, actually we did commission ourselves in trying to figure out how within a project that is so multidisciplinary, there are people from so many different backgrounds using even for the same word, they attribute completely different meanings. We knew even when we were writing the application that this was something, the application for funding, I mean, a few years ago, we knew that this was something really important. And so we need to know when we are speaking a certain word that we actually mean what the consortium agrees that we mean. So this was an internal decision for the consortium to be able to speak to each other. And we had a confirmation that this was actually needed because we had a meeting, an in-person meeting. Our first in-person meeting took place in Delft in February, if I'm not mistaken. And on that meeting, we clearly noticed some terms like the term platform. What do you actually mean when you say platform? And even very simple things like one which has been very disturbing in our discussions, what is a building height? And we realized there's no common definition we can give for that. We can have an open definition, but if we need to pinpoint what it means in a certain country, we actually need to become country-wise. So We discussed this a lot in the last year, and we are happy to have reached a point where we have something to disclose within the consortium, even and the community of practice, even though it's not yet public. However, this will for sure become public in a relatively short term, still within the lifespan of the project. And I have just here two screenshots, one on the left, which is Excel spreadsheet, and the one on the right, which is our platform, which is actually what we are now proud of. So let's go to the next slide. And we started the entire process by interviews with several stakeholders involved. So we were mainly targeting the municipalities, and you see the dates, they are almost 1 year old. So this was actually almost right at the beginning of the project, and we interviewed actually online with a certain number of participants within any of the institutions you see on the left, but with a strong focus on the municipalities. And we had a structured moment where we were asking some questions. Actually, we are going to do that today as well, but we were asking some questions about what are the important terms in context A, context B, context C. Please write it in your own language or in English. And we were just feeling what the municipalities were feeling, and even the other institutions that you see there that have been looking at the building permits for a long time. What do they feel is important? So this, I would say, almost organic feeling was very important for us to understand the intensity of certain words in different people. So then what we collected was a very large number of terms, because in each interview we had several people, and in the several rounds we were collecting many terms from each interview. So a total of 1,615 terms were collected, and we got this from different sources in different contexts, and some of them were translatable to each other, of course. But this was a nice point to begin with, to get a little bit of the feeling. So if we go next, and then we were not only basing ourselves on terms that people felt, oh, this is important for me, this is not at all the way to do it. We also looked particularly to the municipalities that are involved in our consortium, if there is a local dictionary for terms or a local terminology. I don't want to go into taxonomy or even ontologies, because that's a different field, but only for the terminology, for the glossary, we found that we knew, because we are from Portugal, in this case, we knew that we have harmonized terminology for urban planning, which is as 100 terms. It's rather well prepared, and it was raised from a need country-wise. And then in Prague, particularly in Czechia, we realized there's also a building act with some definitions, but they were less. And in Italy, Ascoli Piceno, they also had some national definitions that amounted to 42. So all of this was blended together with this, and with the fact that we were also involved in another task of the project, which is work package 2, and we were actually going through the regulations themselves. So we started this process in the first months of the project by doing a very regular spreadsheet. So this was really a spreadsheet where we were just putting the words, the parts of the glossary with the definitions and with the translations they would have. And we even started the process of revision to determine if this is the first time we are defining this, or there was already a discussion. But this was a very amateur and beginning process, because then we have changed to a more professionalized way, which was actually planned. So this was there's no deviation in regard to plan, by the way. So as you see on the left-hand side, we are now speaking about May, June, July, and August. And what we deployed was in May a wiki that was, it's actually a glossary in a wiki platform, but we also deployed a wiki later on, and it's in wiki.js, which is a JavaScript library for wikis. And we deployed this together with Docker, and we started in a process that progressively we were just between us making some tests at our team. Then we were expanding this to the entire CHEK project and the community of practice, and now it's just open for this context alone. And in the future, this will be open to the public, of course. So if we can go on. The platform is relatively straightforward. We try to maintain it, as similar as possible to what you would expect from a wiki, with a certain degree of formatting and capacity to understand that we are separating things. So the terms, the definition, also the scope and some relationship. So this was important. And then on the other hand, we by using a library that was prepared to make wikis, we were not investing too much time. And this was not actually allocated since the beginning of the project. So we were planning to use a predefined library for wikis. So Wiki.js was used, and you see this front end, which has a decent aspect, and it was not that hard to implement, but still there was a lot of effort. So in the end, what we have implemented so far is a tree of relationships. What we see in this circle is a number of terms that we collected and the relations between them. Unfortunately, there's not enough spaghetti, as I like to say, because in a wiki or in a glossary, we normally have all the terms interconnected. So this is a process that we already did the mapping outside the wiki, and we are now transferring this information. So when you're looking at a certain definition, there will be other things in the definition that you can click to go to the definition elsewhere. So even though it's not yet implemented, by now, if we had implemented it, we would see a spaghetti of terms, all of them correlated, which would be something really nice. And then the features of the platform, of course, are very straightforward. So the platform needs to be simple. So we have a navigation pane. We have the capacity to search, which is very important, and the access to the table of contents, as you see on the right-hand side. And then the commenting, particularly within the CHEK project and the community of practice, everyone is being allowed now to comment. I disagree with this. I am not really so inclined to say that this is true. So people are being able to comment. I would really love to be saying we are collecting so much information and this has been an amazing process of learning, but no, people are just busy. This is life, and we see life happening and developing in front of us. So we are not collecting so much feedback, but there is a decent number of people in the project that are providing a fair amount of feedback. So this was very good. So going on to next. Of course, the access for now is closed. So if you go to checkwiki.pt, which is our provisional domain that we hosted here in Portugal, but it will eventually be on the servers of the project. And it's ready for mobile, by the way. This is why you see those screenshots. But at this time, if you're not in the project, you will not be accepted. But the important thing is if your community of practice, you can be accepted. So this is a way of encouraging, please belong to our community of practice. You will get a lot of information and you can access our glossary and discuss it. That's a valuable point. So if we all work together, this will be better. And I must say that we are in touch also with the other two funded projects from the European Union for the digital building permits to try to condense and bring togetherness in the definitions that we are doing. But this is still starting. The projects, even though they are 1 year into the going, they are still starting. So we still have to understand that we cannot exchange too much by this time. So going on, and this is not only about the glossary. So we have a very big number of terms already. I think it's 100, more than 100 terms already. And but then we did something else, because as we were wanting to make a wiki in the first place, even though it's not the subject of this presentation in itself, we use this as a leverage to start collaboration between the partners on information. So as I mentioned to you all in the beginning of the project, we had this meeting in Delft where actually it was like being in the Babel Tower. People were speaking completely different languages, even though we were all using the English language, which was, by the way, not native to most of us. So at the end of the day, we realized that knowledge was something that was necessary. So we mapped knowledge in a certain number of categories that there was some degree of arbitrarity in deciding the areas of knowledge, but we mapped them as the knowledge areas that we thought would be interesting to be included. And we made some querying in the project. And by mapping these knowledge areas, we made some queries to the partners, and each partner was feeling how I feel today about this, which is the blue line, what I know, and the orange line would be where I want to be. And clearly all the partners in one area or the other said, I'm here, but I wish to be there. So the red lines represent the gap between the knowledge, the level of expertise you had and the level of expertise you want to have. So we are using this as a way of diagnosing the needs for training, because in Work Package 5, at the end of the project, we are actually providing training packages. But at the same time, we use this in a way to look at those that say, I'm an expert on this. And we said, are you? So then please help us write something for the wiki about that. And we asked with volunteering for this, but there was a good addition. We are actually also using our policing service by hunting people in the project to help, but we came up with several things. So we go from as digital building permit related stuff like 3D city models and useful related geospatial data preparation, which is the second topic. But if you go to the last topics, it's law, liability, data security, microservices, user interface. So getting people to know terminology, because if you're in a municipality, you're probably not using much microservices right now, at least not as a direct user. And if you're on a service, on a software company, you probably are not aware of the intricacies of the building permits on a municipality. So we use this wiki as a fast way to get knowledge shared. And with that being said, this is the way it's looking right now. So we don't have so many pages as you see on the left-hand side. So all the challenges that we made are still being responded by the partners, and we are reviewing them, of course. And we believe that there will be a good repository of knowledge if you want to go quickly somewhere, and mostly not only for the glossary, but also for the wiki. Whenever we are having a meeting in the future, if there's any ambiguity, we'll all open the computer on the screen of the wiki and go there. This is what we're speaking about, and the misunderstandings will be less. And with that being said, I would say that this is what I wanted to show you all. I think I'm in time, roughly speaking, in terms of the process of describing the glossary and the wiki. And we were challenged to bring some interactivity to the session, because as you are noticing, this is being very passive for everyone. And what we did is a challenge. We will have a challenge. We will not bother you too much. We have a challenge of 3 minutes first, and then a second challenge of 2 minutes. And the challenge is only to collect interactively ideas where everyone is participating to some extent. We hope that you find it motivating. And we encourage you to join Slido for this activity. So you go to slido.com and you will type this number to join as a participant. So we'll give you some moments. And in the meantime, I'm shutting up and I will end the speech to Bruno. Bruno, you should keep it there. Please keep it there.
I'll start at
at the Slido, but people need to see the number.
Yeah.
Okay. So you join there at the number, slido.com. Yeah.
Maybe you can type it in the chat so that you can.
Oh yeah,
show
sure. So it's slido.com. Should we make a hashtag or no? Slido.com and then you write 416032. Yep. Thank you for the suggestion. Yeah. So you'll just receive the information to like. So we'll start seeing some likes on the screen, seeing that people are connected. We should start. So let's start. I will end the speech to Bruno. Bruno, you may manage this now, please. And yes, you speak here.
Oh, hello. So first we are going to start with this question, which is which terms do you consider important for digital building permits? We are going to give 3 minutes for you to start sending the terms. It's just a matter of sending what comes to your head. It's a very straightforward way. So I'm going to start right now, since the first term has already been submitted, and just interact and send whatever comes to your mind. I think that this is the beauty of this process.
And more than one term can be brought by each person, so feel free. And the intensity of terms will just increase. As you see now, platform seems to be winning.
Yeah, which is.
But let's see what happens. This is very organic and it helps us. Yeah. Shutting up now. Thanks. Okay, we are on time, and we'd like to thank you everyone for this wallpaper that you created for the project. So if we go back to the wallpaper, please, because we are still on the. Yes, so on this wallpaper, we'd just like to make a few comments. We were actually with the micro off, and of course, interoperability came as a very first important point because we will be interoperating between so many systems. But then again, we have many aspects related to the platform, which was growing a lot in the beginning, but then it eventually became smaller. The IFC is also there on the left-hand side, and the BIM aspect, which is of course, and the GIS, which are of course important for the process. And yeah, much about collaboration. It seems to me at some point, and even Jose Granja was commenting, that we are too much focused on the technology rather than on the object sometimes, because we were discussing here terms like balcony, distance, height, and other terms that are actually important to compare between the countries and to standardize in some way the way to approach. This is being one of our difficulties in the glossary. But anyway, we have this excellent background to put on even on the project website that discusses what is the feeling of people, which is very important. So without further ado, let's go to the second part of the poll, which is just something very open, which is we have shown you more or less what we are thinking to do. So we are thinking of doing a wiki that includes a part that is the glossary, and then some explanations of some sets of things that we think are important. So we have a very open question, so feel free. As you see, I think everyone will be anonymous. We can start immediately. Feel free just to dump suggestions. Yeah. Okay, some of them already considered. Great. Aha. Yeah. Okay, we are reaching the limit, and yeah, I think there were many. Oh, ontology had to come. Ontology is a little bit overarching what we were targeting in the beginning, and we realized that it's so much more than what we may have the resources to do, but definitely contributing to an ontology is one of the important parts. And we saw in the, Bruno just changed the place, but we saw that in the top we see the four most frequent terms. So term is obviously definition is needed. So the two first terms and definitions are important. The fact that we have different terms with different definitions in different countries, we already are addressing that in such way. This was a very big discussion in the project, if we should find a common definition for something, or if we should find an umbrella. We should find an umbrella definition for something, but then particularize for each country. And we are only working on 3 countries in this project right now, but this may be addressed later. And of course, consistency and the graphic aspect. The graphic aspect is also something that we have in some terms, But at the end of the day, this is a significant amount of work that we are making an effort to bring. And there were some nice ideas here that we also will save for the future. And thank you for the contribution. It's also important that everyone around sees what other people are feeling about the issue. So this was a small interactive moment so that we are not so much distracted in our own lives, but we can now go back to the presentation. Just to thank you all for your attention. We hope that you felt that the glossary might be a good contribution for the knowledge within the project and also outside. And there's my contact in the bottom if someone wants to come to us on this, but definitely through the community of practice, you will reach everything. So we urge everyone that is not yet in the community to come along and work with us. Thank you so much. We are finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel, for the presentation and for the interactive session that was very interesting. I want to ask before the next presentation if there are any questions for what we have seen until now. Otherwise, I will continue with the next presentation, which would be me from Fraunhofer for Italia. I will present the to-be process for creating the process map for work package 1. Okay, so yes, in relation to the work package 1, I'm going to introduce you the CHEK to-be map for the digital building permit and how we proceeded to build it during the working first part of work package 1. To continue with a more detailed overview of the path that we follow to build the process map, we started since the beginning meeting with the interested parties, which would be first the municipalities, and mapping their process, so the building permit process, and collecting data. Then simultaneously, we were setting up a methodology on how we collected this data and then how we would process the data. Then we proceeded in building the process maps for each of the building permit processes of these municipalities. Then we continued to build the harmonized map, the as-is harmonized as-is map that included the phases of each of these as-is maps. Then we proceeded with defining a new process deriving from this harmonized map. Then finally, to build the to-be map and how it is going to be used for further actions. During the first phase of the work, when we were mapping the processes, we organized workshops with each of the municipalities, the designers and the construction companies, to collect all the data, as much data as we could about the actual process of the building permit in their countries and in their cities. We had 4 municipalities, which are also partners of the CHEK project, from Ascoli Piceno, Municipality of Porto and Lisbon in Portugal, and Municipality of Prague from Czech Republic. We also had interviews and the workshop with a design studio from North Macedonia, and we were able to map the national the building permit process on a national level. And also from our literature studies and publications, we also found the mapped building permit process of South Tyrol, so which is on a regional level. The methodology we followed from the moment of the data collection to the end of the process to build the final to-be map for the digital permit process is as follows. We organized the workshops that during which we conducted structured interviews with the participants, and which in most of the cases were the municipalities. Simultaneously, we studied all the available literature and publications we could find that were dealing with the topic of the building permit, but also related topics like dealing with the process mapping and digitalization as well. Then we proceeded to build the building, the as-is building permit maps. After that, we created a persona for each of the stakeholders that has a role in this process, and we represented their needs and moments of interaction in the future to be mapped of the process. And finally, is the final definition of the to-be map. This one that you see on the screen is one of the as-is process maps that represent the actual building permit process for the municipality. On the left side, you see the summarized version of it, and on the right side, you see the extended version of one of the maps that we built. During this mapping phase of the process, we identified also common phases in between different processes, and also differences in between these processes. And after that, we proceeded in building these harmonized as-is maps, in which you see in every row there is a summary of the phases for each of the processes from each municipality. And we see that many of them have many phases in common, but some phases are missing in some of the as-is process. So as a result, we try to rebuild the process by including as many phases, by including all the phases from the harmonized map. So we started to define the new process. First, we identified that all the as-is processes had in common a pre-submission phase, which started with the data collection. Then, in the new process, we proposed to add the BIM and GIS conversion or interaction. Then we jumped to the designing phase, and remaining again on the pre-submission phase. In the new process, we added the offline validation and pre-checking phase, so the designers could be able to verify and to validate their design and have some degree of knowledge of the process before starting with the official procedure. Then we identified the digital building permit phase, which starts with the official validation of the information model. So designer or the interested party is able to start the official process of the application for the building permit and submit the model. Then followed by the submission. We also took into account that there are other permit processes also. Follow this is followed after submission. There is a visual review by the officer in charge. Then it proceeds with the phase of approval in the best case, or denial in the worst case. Part of the whole process, there is also the post-digital building permit, but this is out of scope of the CHEK. Anyway, we decided to represent it, which after the approval, let's say, of the building permit, the construction phase starts. The model is updated as built, and the final phase would be the update of the city model in this case. But of these three phases, for the moment, are out of scope of our project. After identifying and consolidating those phases, then the work started to draft the 2B process map for the digital building permit CHEK. So you can see there was a lot of back and forth let's say, mapping the actions and arriving to the final conclusion of this one, that this is the final CHEK to be process map, which is also published in Zenodo. You can easily find it because here I acknowledge that is not so understandable because the format is too big. But we also made a simplified to be process map in order to have it more easy to present and to be more comprehensible. So as you can see, we identified actions, actors, and what is going to happen in the CHEK platform. As actors, we identified the applicant, the municipality, the third-party evaluators, the directly affected parties, and general public, which are also the personas that I previously mentioned. And we identified as important in this process the communication, how does it happen, the information, how is it exchanged and in what format, the time, what happens in real time and what not, and transparency, which is also one of the objectives of CHEK, to reach how the information is going to be transparent, or the procedure itself, and who is going to have access in what. For more information, the to-be process map is, as I said, is also published. So together with the deliverable of work package 1. So for who would be more interested, we can also share. To be continued with the further explanation of the to-be process map, I'm going to briefly explain the phases and categories of action in the map that we consider. For the pre-submission phase, we have data collection by the applicant and offline validation of the information model. For the submission phase, we have submission process, automated rule checking, human review and checking, and approval. And after approval is the construction and as built. Further on, the process map was also one of the inputs also to define what actions derive from it, to have as an input for work package 4. As you can see, for example, for data collection by the applicant, we started to identify actions like collecting data, downloading rule sets, and so on. And this is also a work that is going on. Thank you for listening, and if you have questions or comments, thank you, Francesca, for sharing. Okay. Now I want to invite Ani from SAIP to continue with the next presentation is going to present the APIs for an integrated software ecosystem for digital building permit from Work Package 4.
Hello, everybody. Okay, I believe that you can see my screen now. Yes. Okay, so yeah, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Anne. I'm an architect and I work at CHEK, which is the software company, one of the software companies which will provide solutions for the building permitting process. In this presentation, I would like to talk a little bit about the API, but also the platform, and a little bit of the challenges that we are facing as software providers in the projects. Okay, regarding one of the biggest challenges, I am sure you all know, regarding digital building permit process is the scalability of the solutions that software providers can bring to the market. And for us, this is really important because we have challenges regarding geographical scalability, meaning one of the scopes of the CHEK project is, okay, how we can address the entire picture of European Union countries. Also regarding geographical scalability, depending on countries, you have different stakeholders, could be municipal, could be regional, could be national, that changes a lot. Another issue from the point of view of software developers is this idea of that a digital building permit embraces the building, but also embraces the city. So in this sense, how these two technologies, building information modeling and geographic information systems, interoperate. We saw in the graphic that, yeah, Bruno and Miguel show us, no, interoperability was one of the main issues. So how the software solutions that are already, some of them are available, other we are building in this project, how all of them interoperate and how are them capable of exchanging information. And then again, regarding scalability, one of the main things that we wanted to demonstrate in this project is the different types of existing software and services, GIS, BIM viewers, checkers, modelers, public administration platforms, things like digital signature, the use of standardized formats, etc. No? So in these regards, as software companies, we have different challenges, and most of them are always pointing out scalability. And for us, it's really related to the development of the API. So yes, again, what CHEK is trying not to bring is an integrated software ecosystem which addresses some of these big problems from the software perspective. So in this sense, we are not starting from scratch. The platform that is being used in CHEK is BIM Service Center, which is a platform that has been built by CHEK for almost, I will say, 6 years now. And our challenge here as software developers is how to integrate all these process maps that we were seeing in the presentation before inside an existing ecosystem in which we've been working for quite a long time now. Just to give you some numbers, currently BIM Service Center has 170,000 registered users and around 300,000 projects. So let's say that for us it was important not to bring an existing ecosystem to see how this existing ecosystem could engage with the digital building permitting process and how the current tools that we have will have to change to adapt to this process. Also, regarding from the software perspective, let's say one really important thing is that in this project, CHEK project, we have quite a few different types of stakeholders, from research, but software companies, as you see, designers, construction companies, the municipalities, and the standardization bodies itself. How this platform can bring all of them together. Also, for me, a really important part when we wrote this project was the idea that not only one software company will be able to address all the problems that are presented in this challenge of digital building permitting process. So we wanted to bring more stakeholders, software stakeholders. Right now we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 software companies, and also University of Delft is providing software. So somehow we wanted to demonstrate that all these different companies could work together, each of us providing a solution that could be for digital signature, checking, BIM modeling, etc. No, GIS, map viewers, etc. Regarding a little bit the structure of the platform, I must say that the platform is divided in, let's say, three big groups. First of all, the platform is thought to host different types of users, so freelance designers, corporate companies, educational. You've seen educational. Universities, etc. And one of the big challenges of this project, one of the challenges that we are addressing is how to engage also in the platform with public administration, how administrations use the platform, and how the platform helps them not to go to all of this process. This is one part that will be the users. Then the other important part is the tools and services that the platform can provide. The idea here is, again, coming from all these software developers that we saw in the before, how these tools engage together in a common ecosystem. So we have GeoBIM tools, GIS tools, mapping rules, IFC checkers, urbanist checkers. We have different tools. Some of them might overlap currently. There's not like you have to use all these tools to go through the process, but the idea is that we demonstrate that different software providers can provide a solution for different types of scales, places in Europe, etc. So this is the second part. First, users. Second, the tools and services. And third, for us as a company, it was really important to provide also a framework for developers and other business to be able to connect to the platform and to be able to to bring their solutions. That's why for us, or for the project, one of the key points of the project in Work Package 4 is the development of an API. Okay, this API is a REST API. I must say that it is a really easy to use API, which currently is based in the exchange of files. Another thing that I didn't say, but I think is important, is that BIM Server Center only hosts files in open formats, meaning IFC, meaning GLTF, JSON, etc. And why is this so important? Because we truly believe within our company and within the project that all this process will have to be carried out through transparency, through open formats. You have to be able to see this the projects now, and 10, 15 years from now, no, public administration have to have all this information available in a long-term perspective, and that's why one of the things we are implementing is the use of standardized formats. We have here in the consortium OGC and Building Smart also helping us with that. As I say, this is a REST API, and the API is based, I must say, it's quite easy to use, and it's based on these features, on these main features, which are projects. With the API, you will be able to access projects in the platform. Also, you will be able to call and access contributions. Also, the documents which are hosted in the platform. Users, you will be able to see which users are working in each project and which contributions are being made by each of these users. Also, you will be capable of accessing entities. In when entities, I mean corporate companies and universities, etc. We also have a dictionary, which is kind of in a process, but we are hosting a lot of information in the platform already, and we are capable of seeing each of the elements and create a dictionary with translations and imaginary, etc. And of course, the API will allow you to access applications. So as I said, this API is open. Is free, and you will be able to access all this information that is being already hosted in Beam Service Center. Before I finish the presentation and I move a little bit, I just wanted to explain a really important thing about this platform, and is about how this platform is structured. Beam Service Center is a platform which is structured in projects. Each project is made by different contributions, meaning each of the users which are working in this project contributes. It can be with urbanism, it can be with fire safety, structures, architecture, etc. So we have projects, we have contributions, and inside of each contribution is where we are going to find the files. Those files could be analogic files, always like a PDF, standardized files, analogic for humans to somehow see. And then we also host digital files that again are standardized files, IFC, CTML, JSON, GLTF, and any type of file which is a standard. Okay, so this is very important to understand. Also, why? Because this API that we have built, the calls are based on this structure. So you will see you could cut projects, contributions, documents, etc. Maybe this is a little bit more technical, but I think it's important to highlight that you will not be finding folders inside folders and folders. It's really clear structure of the platform. Also, for the software developers in this call, if we have some, all this API is documented already, and we have also a Swagger UI where you could visualize and interact with the API resources without having to do the implementation itself. I'm going to show you here just in a minute or two what we have built so far and where you can access the information of the API and where to contact us. Okay, so I'm going to close the presentation and go to Beam Server Center. First of all, Beam Server Center is a free platform, free of use platform. So You can register in the platform for free. You will have hosting space for your BIM projects. If you are a software developer, you have to also register in the platform, but then once you are registered, you will have to go to the developer section. Here is where you will have access to all the information of the API. I'm just going to log in. And here I already have a test software company that I have created, but here you will be able to add your software company, or maybe if you are a research center, to create an account for your team to work together on this implementation of the API. So I'm just going inside my account, and here you see that you have access to different information. Really important here in documents, you will have already the API REST documentation. Currently, the documentation is only in English and Spanish, but for sure with time you will find it in other languages, Italian, Portuguese, etc. Here you have the basic ideas of the API, the type of calls, how the API interacts with your application, the main parameters that you will have to use, etc. Same here, if you click the Swagger IU, now, if you click to the Swagger, you will have also here all the API and the process that you have to carry out to download information, really well structured and explained for each of the, for example, how I log in, a sample, etc. For sure, you will be able, or you can contact us or contact the project if you want to join this workflow of digital building permit. If you believe that you have any type of solution that could be beneficial for the project, or in general for the digital building permitting process. As you see here, quite well explained by our co-workers, how to get a session, how to get the projects. You see here, as I wanted to explain, projects, contributions, and documents are the three main goals that we have to the platform. So it's really important to understand how these three blocks are structured. Projects are made by contributions, and contributions are made by documents. You will not find other types, folders inside folders, etc. Okay, so here the Swagger. I'm going also to briefly tell you how to create or join with a new application. So for example, if we have this software service, wherever, we will have to go to this part of applications. And there, or here, we can create a new application. So test app. And here inside the test app, there is two things that are going to be really, really important for the use of the API, which are the Git and the secret ID. Okay, this is the ID for this app, and then you will find here the secret ID. Okay, for your app. Those two are the basic to call the API to retrieve information from the API. Also from this part, you will be able to add information of your application, description, name, images. As you see here, BIM Server Center currently is working with a lot of languages. So we are open to all these languages to have description. You can add also graphical information, versioning, and other things, other links to your application. Why is this important? Because you are not only able to connect through the API to the platform, but also you will be able to, I'm going to add your application to the store. So yeah, you can have the application here also. All the software that is in the CHEK project will be connected to the platform and will be accessible to the store, in a comprehensive manner for sure, not like a separate options, but as a group of options together. What else? Yeah, once you have your application published, you will be always capable of using, seeing statistics of use, etc. One important thing is to authorize the application, to send us, okay, I want to publish this application. We will review it and publish for sure. Last but not least, also important, if you want to work with some of your team members in your software company, you will be able to add users and work together in this environment. Okay, this is a little bit regarding the API. I just wanted to take a moment to show you a little bit the platform, so you can have an idea of what's been developed so far, or what's in the platform so far, and how all this information is being exchanged. I'm going to show you, I have a corporate account from site where we have some projects. This is the menu for any user in the platform currently. For sure, there will be a specific part for our public administration, but here you have the capability of accessing projects, also to invite users, also to see projects which are not yours, but you have been invited, and all the contributions you've made. Here, for example, I have different types of sample projects. And as I said, the platform is structured with projects. And then when you enter a project, the platform is structured in contributions. So here you could see architecture, sorry, because I open an example which is in Spanish, electrical mechanisms, analytical models, constructive solutions, map plans, etc. No? So a project is structured in contributions, and a contribution is structured in files. So we can see here inside these contributions that we have DWG, we have GLTF, we have IFC. I don't know if this one may have PDF also. So this is really important when you want to call the API, you want to call the platform, and understanding these three blocks. Also, just to give some final information and to show the potential, the current potential of Bit Service Center. You can see here some of the projects that are being hosted in the platform. We have, as I say, quite a lot of users already, and we have projects, you see here, lighting analysis, architecture, structures, a lot of the structures and architecture, installations, etc. I just wanted to show you this, so you see, that for us it was really important to start with something that was not coming from scratch, that is a system that is already working, and our challenge here is how to adapt this system for the public administration and for the digital building permitting process, and how to engage all these stakeholders that we were talking about. I don't know if you have any questions. For sure, you can contact Jantien and Francesca as project coordinators, but you can contact me also, and you can contact InfoBin Server Center in the case you want to join or through our ecosystem and understand better the API. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm open here to hear.
Thank you, Annie. Now we can wait for some questions in case there are. There is one question in the Q&A session from Sapanka. Does Beam server somehow use information containers from the standardization, ISO standardization?
Yeah, it's Beam Server Center is following ISO, and the information containers are the projects and the contributions, as I was trying to explain. What we are not doing is creating a structure of folders, because we believe that then you have an ecosystem with folders inside folders. So we are giving a really clear structure of those containers, which will be projects that host contributions and then contributions that host the files itself. But yeah, we are following an ISO 20,000 feet. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
While we wait for any other question, may I ask you to open your cameras and maybe we try to take a picture for the website, if you allow that. I'm very happy to see such a high number of participants. Thank you for joining today. Okay, thank you. I take another one. So smile. Okay, thanks. Is there any other question about the software part or any other presentations?
Also, I just wanted to say a thing that I think I forgot is, of course, I was talking a lot about software developers, but of course, this platform is also open to municipalities to retrieve information. So, because we know like there's a lot of legal issues around hosting information in some of the countries. So the idea is also that municipalities, they have their current systems, file systems, will be able to retrieve this information.
We have another question in the Q&A. I can read. Will you also implement the data sharing processes so that only the data that is necessary for a process step is actually accessible? Similar like in a document management system that also limits accessibility to data according to user rules.
We cannot hear you.
Currently, we have a basic implementation of the API where any kind of files can be exchanged. We are not limited. Okay, you can just upload this type of data. But I feel like with the time, this is the first year, no? The API will have somehow to help during this process. And as you say, document management systems are really clear. So you have to upload here a PDF, or here you have to upload an IFC. So we will see during these 2 years of project how also this process can be managed by the platform, and in which points we will be able not to suggest or to tell the users, okay, now you need to do this at a certain point. But currently the process is really open, and the idea is that any of us are able to exchange information, standardize, and in an easy way. Thank you for your question.
Okay, are there any other questions? I don't see any more in the Q&A session. Maybe in the chat. Or in the chat. Okay, so after this, we can go on a break and conclude this first session of our event. And we can take a 10-minute break, coffee break, and we come back with a second session that will start with a presentation from University of Brescia. So let's see each other in 10 minutes. And thank you. Is there
Hey. Ja, wacht, ik zet je ook iets harder, dan hoor ik het. Hoor je mij? Oh, oké.
Okay, we are back. Now the floor is with Silvia from University of Brescia. Whenever you are ready, you can start to present, I believe. So she will talk about the digital building permit regulations and the information requirements for CHEK.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we want to wait for a couple of minutes more to allow
Yeah,
people to join us?
we can wait for a little bit, but whenever you are ready, you can start. We can wait maybe 2-3 minutes.
Okay, because I guess many people are still taking their coffee.
I mean, we are 3 minutes ahead of time, so we can start on 3 minutes if you want.
What do you think? Can we start? We wait the 45.
Yeah, let's wait until 45 then.
Okay. Andre is saying the transmission is bad. Do you mean the audio? My voice? Okay. I will speak louder. Okay, I think we can start. Good afternoon, first of all, to everyone from my side as well. I'm Silvia Mastrolembo Ventura, Assistant Professor in Production and Management of the Built Environment at the University of Brescia in Italy. And today, together with Kavita Raji, that will manage the interactive session right after this presentation. For the first time, we have the opportunity to share the ongoing activities within the CHEK project regarding the digital transposition of building permit related regulations and the extraction from the interpretation of these regulations of the so-called information requirements for digital building permit use case. And with information requirements, we mean the data that must be conveyed through object-oriented building design, of course, but also city models, to effectively adopt semi-automatic or automatic compliance checking procedures as a way to optimize the building permit process. In this case, as you may already know, we talk about building design, but also city model, because the integration between geospatial information and building information model is one of the core topic of the CHEK project. We can say that this work package 2, namely information requirements for the DBP use case, is among the most complex parts of the CHEK project, and its complexity is due, first of all, to the high level of multidisciplinarity that is required to develop the task and activities planned in this work package, and also due to the heterogeneity of the stakeholders involved for developing the task. At the same time, we can say that this multidisciplinarity and heterogeneity of stakeholders is also the added value of this work package and of CHEK in general, because we have research institutions, but also software developers, design companies, standardization organizations, and also actually contractors that are not in this list, but are part of the CHEK project, working together in a joint effort with municipalities that for us are the key stakeholder. We are looking from the point of which we are looking at the building permit process right now, in a joint effort to digitalize this process. It is important to say also that the main objective of this work package is to enable data and also services interoperability. And in fact, the complexity of this work package is also related to the fact that in 2 years, because we have started 1 year ago, and this work package is will be finished according to the schedule of CHEK in October 2024. In these 2 years, we have started working with tons of paper documents, and hopefully we will end up working with data, and we will have customized IFC, CityJSON profiles, and also our colleagues will develop the supporting interoperability tools. Here you can see an overview of the activities we are working on, and I think it is a quite clear representation of how these activities actually require a choral efforts and a multidisciplinarity. The first step of this work package, as I said, is the analysis of regulations, building permit regulations. And at the same time, their interpretation, because the aim is to extract from these regulations that arrive in traditional forms, so paper-based documents, tables, graphical interpretation. We need to extract from one end a set of rules, machine-readable rules, that can be used, and this will be an input for another work package 4 of this project, that can be used for checking building design and the compliance of building design with regulatory requirements. On the other hand, we need to analyze the regulations for identifying the information requirements of object-oriented building designs, but also city models, in order to support the preparation of these models to be effectively checked by the code checking tools developed by software developers in Work Package 4. In addition to this, we have standard organizations like OGC and software developers like RDF that are working on the transposition of these of these information requirements that are in a first moment identified in terms of objects and related attributes and relationships between objects. They are working on the transposition of these requirements into neutral open data formats. Finally, our colleagues from Delft in the second year of the project will develop a supporting toolset for exporting, post-processing, and also for validating the quality of building information models and city information models. So this is a quite complex work package, and everything starts from regulations and from the analysis of the building permit process. Today, we are going to focus the presentation of the preliminary results that we have got so far. They will be also published at the end of this month in a deliverable where we are going to collect the first results got in this work package. We will focus this presentation on the identification of regulations, their interpretation, and in particular on the methodology that we have developed and we are currently testing for going from the interpretation of the regulations to the definition of information requirements. The specification of the neutral data formats will be presented in March in following event. The first result, the first activity that we developed was aimed to identify the so-called checklist of regulations. So basically, we wanted to narrow down the scope of possible applications of code checking tools that are not something new in the BIM environment, let's say. We wanted to narrow down the scope of these applications to the building permit use case. And at the same time, we wanted to develop a frame of reference against which to measure a KPI that is quite important for our project, which is the percentage of the municipalities digitalized regulation. So the first aim, the first objectives that we wanted to achieve was this list of regulation. It was already said in a previous presentation, 4 municipalities are working with us in this project. They come from 3 different European countries, and they are different in terms of size per inhabitants, number of inhabitants. We go from Ascoli Piceno that has more or less 45,000 inhabitants to Prague with more than 1 million of inhabitants. So starting from the experience of these 4 municipalities, we developed this list of regulations. We first proposed them as research institutions, in particular the University of Brescia, together with the University of Milan. We developed an initial list of possible checks. Then the municipalities proceeded with an iterative review process of this list and identified building permit related checks. And they also classified them. A group of them, according to their experience and knowledge, is carried out by public officials, and a group of checks within this list is important for building permit, but it is carried out by third parties, applicants, and so on. The former list, so the checks carried out by public officials, is within the scope of CHEK right now. But at the same time, we want to look also at additional possibilities for automatic and semi-automatic checking. So this is the list that we got from the very first activities of this work package. So together with the municipalities, we identified the importance of urban indexes, distances checks, building spaces, and then parking standards, accessibilities, as checks that are usually carried out by public officers. Then we have another group, as I said before, that we aim to consider as a possible extension of what we are working on right now, based also on the current GIS and BIM analysis software potential. Another step, once we got the checklist of regulations, was to prioritize more or less the checks that we have included in the list in order to understand where we could start from in the digital transition and the digital transposition of the regulations into information requirements and machine-readable rules. Again, municipalities had an important role in this, in providing these priorities, and it was interesting to evaluate with them that the first step important for the building permit process from their perspective was the analysis of building urban data. So the analysis of the interaction that exists between the building for which a building permit is required and the urban context in which it is located. Only in a later stage, the interest of public officials shift to verifying the requirements of building spaces, whatever the function or the type of the building is. After that, in order to proceed with the activities, we needed to select some checks to start from. And together with the municipalities, we identified the distances, urban indexes as a priority. In particular, we selected buildability index and maximum building height as two first examples to develop and test the methodology. The maximum building height is quite important in relation to distances because we have noticed that distances regulations often call out requirements from building height. And then to test the methodology at the building level, we selected building spaces and the possibility to check the area of building spaces as a starting point. Other and additional checks taken from the list of regulations will be considered later on. We have started from probably the most difficult check to consider, which is distances. In particular, we decided to proceed in rule interpretation with a sentence-centric approach. This means that we asked the municipalities to provide us exactly the regulations, but also the sentence of the regulation, which is a reference for checking the compliance of building design and granting a building permit. So, in particular, for distances, we identified three main categories of checks. So the distance between the two buildings, for example, an existing building and a new building or a renovation building, the distance between a building and the parcel boundaries, and also the distance between two buildings if a road is interposed, or a distance between a building and a road, etc. So these are the main checks that we have identified. Then, as I said, we decided to proceed with a sentence-centric approach, and we applied a semantic markup procedure. We have decided to use the so-called RAISE methodology, where RAISE stands for requirements, applicability, selection, and exception, as a way to interpret the sentences that we have collected from the municipalities, and as a way to pre-process the natural language of the regulation. Is a preliminary steps towards the definition of information requirements and the formalization of machine-readable rules. Of course, this has been an iterative process. With this iterative process, we needed several times to interact with municipalities because maybe there were some ambiguities, some tacit knowledge within the regulations and the sentences analyzed. And iteratively, for the examples checks that we have selected from the list of regulations, we identified the objects of the CHEK, the relevant properties that they should contain, the data type of the property, the comparison, so greater than or equal to a Boolean, the target value, and also for numeric information unit, and eventually dependencies in case of if-then relationship coming from the interpretation of the regulations. This was quite complex and long process, which is still ongoing. It was a methodology that we have decided to adopt because, in our opinion, was one of the most comprehensive way to get all the constraints and the requirements from the regulations. We will discuss the results from this methodology in our deliverable. But what I can say now is that, for example, when we talk about interpretation of regulations, which is also looking at the literature, one of the main steps of code checking, okay, regulations in this case is not enough at all. We have regulations that are linked to additional normative references. We have tacit knowledge within regulations. We need to look also and to interpret also definitions. And for example, we have for the same thing like building height, different definitions in different member states, but also different definition within the same member state. It was the case, for example, for Italy. Then regulations contain additional graphical explanations that have to be interpreted as well. And also we have a list of possible values. For example, consider that for different urban zones, for the same rule, we can have different target values and comparison. And also frequent legislative updates by jurisprudence. So even the regulations are not certain, and probably next year regulations could be different in several of the municipalities that we have analyzed so far. The result from this pre-processing step of semantic markup have been also transposed in the form of conceptual models. Conceptual models are a way to manage information requirements in terms of entities, attributes, and relationships. For example, here you can see the conceptual model resulting from the analysis of the distance-related check of the municipality of Ascoli Piceno. So we have identified in green entities that could possibly coming from building information models, in the light blue entities that if we think about the digital building permit should come from city models. You can see that they are actually integrated. So when municipalities told us, okay, the interaction between a building and urban data is important, yes, it is, because actually we can effectively see that this interaction exists, and in a geospatial integrated with BIM approach to building permit, we need to consider this interaction. So in this, now we have classified the attributes also if they have to be input by the need for being inputted by the user, or if they come directly from city models, etc. And this was done for each municipality and for each check. And then there was a moment in which we asked the municipalities to validate the result of this interpretation. We are collecting feedback from the municipalities, but also designers, also software developers, other research institutions. So it was very useful to try to validate this interpretation. That was not easy, and it's still ongoing. Then we needed to compare the result from the different municipalities, and to compare the results in order to assess the need for flexibility and scalability. We also decided to transpose the conceptual models in a tabular form. Here you can see some screenshots from a table, for example, because it was easier to compare the different municipalities' results. And also, thanks to the contribution of the designer companies working with us, these information requirements are now also represented in a graphical form in order to analyze the geometric information requirements and the detail of the modeling processes. So we are working in this direction. Some open issues, classification of entities. For example, establishing information requirements, we noticed that some of the entities were possible to be classified, for example, with uniclass and so on. But other entities like the cornices of roof, it was quite difficult to find the right classification, and making just an example, of course. And then we are evaluating also with experts from the advisory board the possibility to formalize information requirements according to the level of information need standard. Let's think about the 17412 standard. This work, and I'm going to conclude, is of course a bridge towards the interoperability objective of this work package. So starting from this work of rule interpretation and preliminary definition of information requirements, colleagues from OGC and RDF are already working on the transposition into building smart and standards and CTGML and CTJSON standards. So this will be presented in future events. Now I will ask Kavita to share her screen. I don't know. I would suggest to move questions at the end. Kavita now will lead the interactive session that will be focused on preliminary on the result of the checklist of regulations. Together with you, the aim is to validate this list of regulation and the priorities that we should take into account when starting interpreting the rule interpretation process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Silvia. I hope you can see my screen. Is it correct? You can see? Okay. Hello, everyone. Now I would like to guide you through this short interactive section to gather feedback on our checklist. First, I'm start giving a short introduction. The interaction is structured in two parts with two different objectives, after which I'm going to share a link and you will be able to interact. And the first step, we want to gather feedback on the individual checklist controls to understand if and how they are being done in your municipality and in your country. Also, we would like to understand eventually with which check we can extend the checklist based on your responses. In step 2, I want to invite you to assign importance and urgency value to the checklist topics to define a prioritization matrix in terms of their digitalization. The first step, more in detail of the interaction, you will be asked to assign a value for each check in our checklist. The goal, as I anticipated, is to understand if these checks are also done in your municipality, in your country, based on your knowledge or on your experience. Since so far we have considered till now the interaction with the 4 municipalities members of CHEK. The value we ask you to assign range from a scale from 0 to 3, which 0 means the check is not done, not checked. 1 means there are sample checks, spot checks. 2, if the check is done by third parties, and 3, if that control is done internally within the municipality. At the end of this part, you will be asked, you will be directed to an open-ended question in which we ask you to write down if there are additional controls to consider so that we can extend our checklist. And if you have nothing to write, also you can write that you don't have anything to write. And the second part of the interaction, we will ask you to assign a value from 1 to 5 of importance and urgency to the checklist topics for their digitization in order to meet the most urgent needs of municipalities officers. Urgency refers to the need for the immediate attention or action for the digitalization of those checks that will support, of course, municipalities officers' work. This also will allow us to get an urgency priority matrix and allow us to double check if the result we are going to together reflects the priority assigned by the 4 municipalities CHEK of member of CHEK. In fact, at the moment, the municipality considered it important to start with the digitization of those checks that verify the building in the urban context. I guess we can start the interaction for data collection. You can participate from your smartphone or tablet by scanning the QR code or from your computer by the link I'm going to copy. Okay, that Silvia shared in the chat. Or you can just search in your browser menti.com and insert manually the code you see in the slide. If you have any difficulties or questions, please let me know and we will try to fix it. I'm going to change. Okay, I see result comments. First, you will be asked to specify your role and what country you are from. And after the data collection that I outlined earlier begins. Okay, enjoy your interaction. It requires I think, from 5 to 7 minutes. Yeah. Here, you have to pin the map, the country you are from. Okay. Many of you are from Portugal, Italy, Netherlands. Many of you are from public authority, I can see, a research institute, software companies. Also. Okay, most of you are from research institute. This is the first part. This is the first slide of urban indices, where we are going to ask which controls are checked or not checked in your country. It seems most of them are checked internally. So the priority the value you are assigning is the high value, which is 3. For the distances, also is between the value 2 and 3. It means it's okay. It's from internal check mostly. For building spaces,
of you asked again for the meaning of the numbers. I've typed it in the chat. So 0 means the check is not checked. So it should be deleted from the list of regulations. Then we have 1. That means, okay, it is checked, but on a sample basis. We usually check it just sometimes. The number 2, it is an important check, but it is not carried out by public officers, but by third parties. And then 3, the check is important and it is carried out by a public officer.
Yeah, thank you, Silvia. Okay, 23 people participating. I'm start looking for the first slide on assigning value on urban indices. It seems it's from you assign, most of you assigned a value from 2 and 3, and for buildability index, permeable area, maximum building height, maximum facade height. Also for the distances, it means it looks like it's a kind of internal check mostly in your country, in your municipality. For building spaces, there are some differences. It seems like required building spaces for building type and building spaces required for usability are mostly done by third party and internal check. On contrary, the requirements required furniture and equipment of building spaces and circulation spaces are done by are not checked or sample checked. For parking standards, also you assign the value from an average of 2 or 2.5, 0 skips, so 2 or few skips. Accessibility is done also from 2 to 3. It means it's controls done by third parties or internal check. It reflects also our interaction with the CHEK municipality members. I'm going to read some of your purpose of extending the checklist in order to extend also extend our checklist with additional checks. Fire safety, for example. Some checks are only done for specified building types, example accessibility for public buildings only and not private buildings. Impact on environmental, also fire safety. Most of you said fire safety, which reflects our software analysis potential, which Silvia mentioned before. Nature entry cuttings, sustainability products, accessibility element presence, fire rating, U value of walls, number of elevators. Okay, I move to the next slide. Let's check part 2. Okay, most of you assigned high importance, high urgency on urban indexes and distances, which also reflects what we analyzed with the 4 municipality member of CHEK till now. So it's good because it's double check the work we are doing. While for accessibility, we are at the same high importance, high urgency, but it's changing now. While for importance of parking standards, it's a little bit different, like medium value of importance and medium value of urgency.
Of course, the aim of these priority metrics in this case is okay. If you are required to adopt digital tools and methods, where would you like to start from? What in what part of your daily work you would be supported by digitalization? This is the aim. While in the first question, the list of checks, of course, didn't take into account the digital transition on a general level, but wanted to recreate the building permit use case. From the results, it seems that we will analyze them in details, of course. The priorities are more or less confirmed if compared to what we have seen from the 4 municipalities of CHEK. Then I think our time is almost over. I don't know if Kavita, you have any?
Now I think we finished. This is the last slide on possible extension of checklist controls, which Silvia previously mentioned. It's different it's different like the previous slide, the importance and urgency value was high, but here I can see the importance and urgency value for these controls are quite low. So I think we have finished. Thank you very much for your interaction. Of course, we will analyze in detail all the data collected in order to integrate them in our work. And please, if there are any questions, we are happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Silvia and Kavita, for the presentation and also for the interactive section. If we have any questions, you guys can type in the Q&A. Then any questions for Silvia or Kavita for this presentation? Okay, there is one question. Let me just check. Actually, there are. The first question is the visualization of the regulation in 3D. Is this something you created in the project as well?
Do you mean? Just a second. Do you mean TC figure?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, this representation was developed by our colleagues Bori and Traice from Sienzwe, the design companies collaborating in this work package based on the result of the definition of information requirements. It is an interim result. Of course, we still have to conclude this analysis and to continue with additional checks from the list of regulations. But yes, this is something that is part of the result we want to give about information requirements. So the alphanumeric attributes, but also a geometric representation to understand the detail of the modeling activities.
Okay, thank you. And then there are two comments from Claire. The first one is, thank you for the presentation. Could you post the names of the software provider that is working on digitalizing the regulation? And the second, can I ask a question about the RAISE methodology mentioned? Did this involve manual reading of the entire text of the regulations by line by a human being? Or were some software used, extracted, and pre-processed the text before RAISE was applied?
Okay, about the first question, you asked about a tool for the interpretation. We didn't use a tool for the interpretation. It was done manually with the semantic markup with the RAISE methodology, and then we just transposed the result into a conceptual model with a tool for modeling conceptual models, and into an Airtable, which is an online database, let's say, as a way to easily compare the results. We still have to analyze and to identify the most appropriate way to share the information requirements with the other parts of the project. For example, the information requirements as in the IFC format, in data schema, sorry, or in the CHEK CTGML, etc. They will be used in following part of the project. We need to evaluate how. In this case, no, there is not a tool. This is done manually, the semantic markup. We decided to work in this way. This was actually a point of discussion within the team, and I have to say it was a quite complex procedure. There are several projects working on, for example, natural language processing or other possibilities for extracting entities, attributes, comparison, target value from a regulation. In this case, this is not within the scope of CHEK. We adopted a manual semantic markup methodology. Also, after a discussion with some members of the advisory board working on the same type of projects, we haven't analyzed all the sentences in building code regulations, but the important sentences according to the municipalities for a specific type of CHEK, yes, they were read, classified as potentially useful for getting attributes, objects, constraints, information, and then marked up manually. Then the result, of course, this is probably one of the limitations of this approach, because it's a quite long procedure, but useful because it is one of the possible options we have to really understand what the regulations ask for. And then it was a methodology to actually understand if people that were not the public officers really understand the requirements and the constraints included in the regulation. This is a point of debate in our team. But in this way, the analysis, I can say it is a systematic analysis. If there is an object that needs to be modeled in city models or building information models, it is detected. If there is a constraint, it is identified. A systematic analysis that require a high level of resources at this stage. Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for your answer, Silvia. If we have any further discussions, we will have time at the end. I will move on now with the last presentation about the presentations itself. So I am Mariana. I don't know if you can see my screen. I don't think you can.
No.
Okay. Just a second.
May I put it on slideshow?
Okay, I think now you can see my screen. I am Mariana. I am from Fraunhofer. Me and Arlo, we are working here on the now we are working on the maturity model, which is the second test for the work package 1. First, I will introduce a little bit of our methodology. Then we will talk about a little bit about the maturity model. Then the roadmap, which is still ongoing development, and then we'll have a short interactive section with you guys. So first, for our methodology for developing the maturity model, we gather some data collection. First, from the process map that we developed, like we followed the process for a fully DBP process map that we developed on the first test of this work package. Then we gather also some literature research in maturity models, not just maturity models related to construction or digital building permit, but also related to other areas, other industries, such as technology and also management, project management. And we did an analysis of focusing on maturity models for BIM and GIS in order to develop the maturity model that we will present you here today. So these were the 7 maturity models that we analyzed. We analyzed every one of them by the structure and by the content, also by the levels of maturity that they that you can gather for them, that you can access for them. And you can see there is mostly maturity models related with BIM and GIS. They are not very related with digital building process, and they are not very related also with the combination of BIM and GIS with this interoperability that we saw today already, that is a very important topic for digital building permit. So from these, we developed our draft model. We first defined the structure, then we defined the categories, the capability sets, and then the key maturity areas, which are the small areas that we have to analyze based on the capability, level of capability that we have for that specific maturity area. And then from these maturity areas, we define the levels. We define like the first and the last level, that at the first level of the last maturity and the last level of the higher maturity. And then we define the levels in between. And from the maturity model, we will also define our roadmap that will be a tool to help the municipalities or the building authorities or any stakeholders related to digital building permit. I will help them to create a structure implementation plan of the digital building permit based on their current level of maturity and the future current maturity that they desire to achieve. So first, to develop the framework of the maturity model, we gathered the 3 critical dimensions of the digital building processes that are mostly procedures and methods, technology and information, and organization and social. We think that these three categories are very important for the development of any process, but especially the digital building process. We can, based on our research and based on also the knowledge of everyone involved, we know that you cannot implement a good digital building permit without these 3 categories. But we divided the technology and the information because since it's very important, as we always also saw today in the presentations, So we divided these in two categories. So for our maturity model, we have 4 categories. The structure is basically that. So we have the category, which is the highest level component of the group. And then we have the capability sets. Each capability set is a broader process area essential for the organization improvement that falls under one category. And then the KMA is the specific capability that it enables an effective implementation of a capability set. So this KMA is the area that will be assessed based on the capability levels for this specific maturity area. So first, the categories that we have 4 categories, as I have mentioned before. The first is process, that refers to procedures, workflows, and overall approach to managing the building digital permit process. The higher maturity reflects a more standardized, streamlined permit process enabled by data technology. The second category is organization, that evaluates the structure readiness of the organization for adopt a database DBP. So the higher maturity entails having the institutional support, staffing, and also the cultural environment for transforming permit. The technology category refers to the system implementation and infrastructure for digital building permit. So a higher maturity means having a robust integrated technology in place to fully enable the digital workflows. And the last category, which is the information, the focus is on the data availability, quality, and governance required for seamless digital building permit. So the higher maturity reflects also the comprehensive trusted data capabilities underlying permit flows. From these 4 categories, we have the capability sets, which are 3 for each of the categories. So for the process, we have process and methodologies, regulatory and procedures. For organization, we have readiness for change, organization structure of units, and social aspect. Technology, we have technology for data management, technology for data analysis, and interoperability and open data, and open format, sorry. And in the information, we have data standardization and quality, data and information, and codes and regulation. So from these 12 capability sets, we have 34 KMAs that are described here. I will briefly tell them, but I know that they are a lot. It's a lot of information, but just to highlight them. First is understanding the process and mapping of steps. Second, stakeholders are aware of the processes and require information they must provide. Benchmarks and key performance indicators, standardized process, data templates, and use of common formats and documentation requirements, timelines and response time, accessibility of stakeholders, and transparency. These are the KMAs that will measure the maturity of the process category. And then we have data technology awareness, internal staff, higher management, infrastructure, legislation system under the readiness for changing, and then strategic objective for data-driven process implementation, training, preparation, and support, overall knowledge of technician, dedicated personnel, and stakeholders processes. These are all the key maturity areas that will measure the organization process. And then for the technology, we have data management environment and network platform, data storage and repository, submission system and electronic signature, communication systems, data inspection and visualization, data validation for building and for urban context data, content analysis and regulation checking tools, interoperability components, and B2G, B2G GIS data interoperability. And for the information, we have data standards and guidelines, data quality control, data richness and information accuracy, building intervention design data, city context data, and regulation formats and regulation accessibility. So with these 34 capability key maturity areas, we can assess by 5 levels of maturity. The first level would be a non-existent, so the capability does not exist currently in the organization, indicating a complete lack of maturity. The level 1, which would be an initial level, so there is a basic awareness of the capability needed, but adoption is ad hoc and undisciplined or not standardized. The level 2, the organization implements the capability following basic standards and guidelines. There are documented process and some coordination. Level 3, which is managed. The capability is institutionalized across the organization with formal standards, integration, and coordination. Processes are proactive, measured, and regularly improved. Level 4, which is integrated. The capability demonstrates interconnection across the organization through common tools, platforms, and data. Activities are monitored, managed, and optimized. And the last level and the highest level in this maturity model is the optimized. The capability has full integration, automation, analytics-driven improvements, and strategic alignments, which enables rapid adaptation and delivers measured business values. So this is a summarized version of our maturity model. So each of those capability KMA, sorry, key maturity areas. Key maturity areas, they can be assessed in those levels. And the way to assess the model is exactly this is the visualization of the model that we have right now. So here is the category. These are the capability sets. These are the KMAs. And each of these is the levels of this KMA. So to assess this model, just as a zoom of this, we have the capability, the KMA, and these are the levels. So here we can see the evolution of the first level, which are the non-existent, to the 5th level, which is the optimized level. And these are the levels that an organization needs to achieve in order to achieve the maturity of this key maturity area. So we have 4 categories, 12 capability sets, and 34 key maturity areas with 5 levels each. So we are not going to show all of them to you right now because we don't have time for that. And also it is a lot of information. But on the interactive session, we will have a little view of the maturity in general. And this is how we assess the model. So first you define the current level of maturity. So in each capability, each KMA, you define your current or your organization or building authority current level of maturity. And then you define the level of maturity you want to achieve. So the desirable level of maturity. And these are all the levels of maturity that you already have. And then you will find out a graphic like that. That is the difference between what do you want to achieve and what you have already achieved. So this gap between the desired and the current is the gap that we need to cover through our roadmap. So the roadmap, basically we took this maturity model that it's assessed, and then from this we have these levels that are already achieved. So for us, they don't really matter now. These are the current levels of maturity, and these are the levels of maturity to overcome. And each of those levels, to move from one to another, we need actions in order to change from one level to another level. And then from each evolution of levels, you can achieve the desirable level of maturity. And this is the roadmap. The roadmap is still ongoing. We don't have the whole maturity model. It's not still totally defined. So the roadmap is also not thoroughly defined. So, but this is basically the idea of the roadmap. We have the maturity model. From the maturity model, we have some dependencies between the KMAs, and then the actions required to move from one to the next level, and then this will be the roadmap. And for this, we'll have now an interactive section that we will ask for your help in order to understand if the maturity model, it is clear, if the KMAs, they are clear, and also if we can find like actionable actions to move from one KMA to, from one level to another. So from these, we will share a mirror board. We will ask you to, I will share my other screen now, just for, oh, sorry, just for 1 second. So this is a mirror board. Here in the bottom, we have the maturity model. It is divided by the categories that we just saw, and is divided by the key maturity areas that we also just saw. And then here we ask you guys to put, just put like a mark, put your initials here in one of the key maturity areas that you wanna check, you wanna pick. And then you go to this key maturity area, and then you read the levels just for one of the maturity areas. You don't need to read more than one because we don't have time for that as well. And then you can create, like with your own words, the actions on the sticky notes. And then we have 2 sticky notes because we have more than 34 people. So 2 people can pick one key maturity area. And then at the end, we have some follow-up questions that if you can also answer these questions, we would appreciate. If you have any questions, please just let us know. We will give you some time for that.
The link is already in the chat of the mural board. Anybody should be able to access.
So sorry to interrupt. I see there are 2 minutes left before the end of the event. So Oriol and Mariana, would you like to add anything for this activity, or maybe if participants want can follow annotating the Miro board?
Yes, actually the Miro board is available. So yeah, we knew that we wouldn't have time, so much time because it's very complex, but you guys can take a look and also make comments. This board allows you to make comments. So if you want later in the following week to take a look on all the or in the parts that interest you and make comments, we will be very happy for it. And now you are with the floor, Francesca, for the closing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we have 1 minute left, so unfortunately not much time, but is there any question or comment that anyone wants to do? I saw some discussion in the chat about especially the level of automation of these preliminary steps. I see also other questions in the Q&A, but please, I will just invite you to open your microphone and say anything that you would like to add to right before the closing of this event. I saw Claire Maria having some.
I think Q&A questions, they are from the last presentation, so they were answered already. But
Yeah, I'm inviting anyone if you want to have any questions or comments on the maturity model or on other parts of the event. And well, okay, I also see that it's late afternoon, so I just would like to thank you all for participating. We remain available anyway via emails and via our contacts for answering your other questions, and we hope to meet you in the following occasions. That may be the conference, the Digital Building Permit conference that we are organizing for April. I think you will see the announcement even in the in our website, besides on other channels and parallel channels. So I hope to see you there as well. And yeah, and thank you very much, everyone, for your participation. Have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Bye-bye.
day.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.